All right, welcome back, Beyonders, to the Tabletop and Beyond podcast. We are so happy to have you. I am your host, Justin. I am here with Jason and Dan. Welcome, boys.
Hey.
Good evening.
And we have special guest, Jonathon Myhre. Did I just say that right? I said it wrong. Myhre.
Yeah, there we go.
Jonathon Myhre, Mr. Dragonbane. This is an official title for you too, by the way, Mr. Dragonbane.
It has indeed, and I'll tell you, Free League Publishing themselves call me Mr. Dragonbane.
There you go.
So it's official.
It's like an accomplishment in life, man.
Exactly. Title earned. It's like those RPG games, and you can actually put it in front of your
You actually earn the title.
When Tomas, the lead designer, shook my hand, he was like, "Oh, you're Mr. Dragonbane." I was just like, yeah, that's me. That's me.
That's awesome. So we're going to talk about Dragonbane today and why you are now called Mr. Dragonbane, and we're super excited to have you on the show. We met you at GenCon when we were able to play it, so we're going to talk about real world Dragonbane experience and like what this game's all about. So before we obviously get into that, we're going to talk about Geek Week. So Dan, why don't you kick us off with your Geek Week, buddy?
Oh, well, I'm leaving my Sabacc tournament background up, excuse me, because we're running a once a month Star Wars game where the focus is a rolling Sabacc tournament where there was 125 players in the first session, and then a different venue, and then 25 players, and then the last one that we're going to do in about 3 or 4 weeks is going to be just the best of the best, the last 5 players. So it's been an Ocean's 11 type situation where the players are not good enough to actually win at that level. So it's about them cheating and figuring out how not to get caught. And I have implemented real Sabacc cards. I bought the ones from Disney years ago, and they're really good. But I kind of wanted something that was a little easier, more user-friendly. And so I found a deck on Etsy that shuffles better and has numbers for all of the symbols, not just kind of weird Star Wars stuff. So anyway, it's been a lot of fun. And the team has, they didn't know they were wandering into an old West End Games module from 1989 when I put the second tournament on the Kuwari Princess, which is from a classic Star Wars module called Riders of the Maelstrom. And the Kuwari Princess always gets attacked by the Riders of the Maelstrom every time. They didn't know that. So as soon as the last pile of chips slid across the table and they were self-satisfied with their win, and then there were pirates everywhere. So we had a great time. And Lando Calrissian, of course, the purpose of the tournament is to figure out who will be the Baron Administrator of Cloud City. I decided to start messing with canon a little bit to see what happens. So anyway, that's been really great and very Star Warsy. And I've not had a very good Geek Week, but that's been a real highlight.
Awesome.
I'm gonna hand it back to you guys.
Sounds good, Jonathon. Let's kick it over to you. How was or may be your Geek Week?
Well, my Geek Week's been pretty good. I've run Dragonbane. I ran some Pirate Borg the other day. I played in some Call of Cthulhu yesterday. But the coolest thing that's probably happened to me, I finally, so in April of 2024, a local guy that lives in Louisville, Kentucky, near me, his name is Elijah.
Could you say that again?
Yeah. Louisville.
Okay.
No accent shaming, Justin. Don't accent shame him. That's not cool, man.
I was just gonna say, I don't know if I can find that on a map, Jonathon. Like,
it's the double O's, the UV, AH, Louisville. But no, Elijah, congratulations, man. He's getting married in next year. But he asked me. He is the forever GM. And I hate to hear that because, people have to play, but, he's the forever GM, and he asked me to run like 48 hours of TTRPGs for him and his players. So there's like 4 or 5 guys, and, they're renting a cabin in Tennessee, and he said, we're getting an Airbnb. It's going to be a cabin. We're going to be drinking. We're going to be eating steak all day. do you want to come run for us? I was like, yeah, let's do it. So it'll be my first bachelor party TTRPG for 48 hours. It'll be a miniature convention, basically.
So I love this idea, and this is maybe something that we should explore on the show a little bit more. Because the idea, like, you've heard of these like destination bachelor and bachelorette parties. Okay, so first off, they're super expensive. Mm-hmm. Like if you're like, oh, let's go to Miami for the weekend, right? Like the amount that you pay in hotels, flights, drinks, like all that stuff. Like it is, it's pretty crazy. You know what I mean? So, I think that the idea of renting a cabin, bringing your food in, like high-end steaks, of course. I mean, like you got to eat well, right?
Yeah, of course.
And that, and then just playing games, like that sounds like the most epic bachelor party to me, right? Like,
I mean, I've been a part of several, and honestly, this one's gonna be the most fun. I just have to say
that. Yeah. Very good. Well, I'm excited for that.
My brother Nate has a buddy. They at the last minute in Las Vegas, they talked about renting an exotic dancer, but just to come and play games, right? just to come and play RPG games.
We need one more player.
They backed out. They didn't do it. They're like, what if she thinks we're total freaks? What if she's like, guys, I've seen a lot of weird stuff, but I'm not going to sit down and roll dice with you. This is not acceptable.
What was the great race? Like, how much would it cost?
Yeah, the rat race.
Rat race, like a bath full of Pepto-Bismol.
Yes.
Like, for a party like that.
Yeah. So wait, just to clarify, Dan. So your friends, your brother Chicken and his friend Chicken out. That means they didn't ask her to play games.
They didn't.
Or they
didn't call. They didn't make the call. They didn't make the call because they didn't actually want her to dance. They just wanted a bachelor party where they had an exotic dancer who kept her clothes on, but they played like D&D.
I mean, that's a story running joke.
Yeah. That's one of those where you can leave stuff out and have a fun story with your wife, right? Yeah, we had an exotic dancer over last night. And then period.
And it was a great time.
Yeah, it was a great time. We were like rolling on the floor.
We rolled so much.
Yes, so much.
Yep. These doughy guys wanted me to come over and play this weird game. I called the cops on them. They're
the stories that she would have, though. Like,
exactly. And sure enough, one of us is going to get lucky eventually. Right?
So yeah, that has been my geek week, my nerd week. So I'll pass it back to you.
Awesome. Jason, how was your geek week?
Had a good geek week. Actually, a couple weeks ago, had some buddies over one night, and we ran. Let's see if it'll phase it out or not. Thank you, background. Cyberpunk, right? I'll share my screen so we can see it here. That'll be easier. Every time I do this, I have to re-find where it is. Window. All right, here we go. So this game I got at GenCon, right? This game is a really simple game. It's based off of Forged in the Dark. But I love it because it comes in just this little like fold out binder here, right? Actually, I'll scroll down. You can see it. See those they're just little like pamphlets.
Oh, that's cool.
And what's great is that every pamphlet that's like your player sheet, right? So it's one of those, rules like games. You can roll up a player in like 10 minutes. So you just pass one of these out with a dry erase marker. When everyone comes, hey, come play an RPG with us tonight. They come sit down. You pass these out with a dry erase and a marker. And then in 10 minutes, everyone's got a character in this cyberpunk themed universe. And that's a little bit different. And then you just go out and you play and you have fun, right? And even the DM guide, like that framework guide, it's just a little pamphlet. So you can play the whole game with just like a generic pool of D6 dice in the middle of the table and a couple little pamphlets that you're holding on to. And it only took like it only takes like 2 hours to play a session. It's a really short RPG. So it was really good. I had a couple guys over that had never played RPGs before. Really easy. It's definitely more like kind of improv story role play based because it's so rules light. So these are guys who are used to like really deep board games like Descent and those things. And we played the newest Descent, the one that's app driven. But before that, I said, hey, we're going to do this thing called a role-playing game. And they were a little nervous at first, like to kind of open up to the concept of like, well, all right, so how can I do that? It's like, well, just tell me how you want to do it. All right, I really just kind of want to run down the middle of the train and kind of hide in a seat next to this guy. He's like, all right, well, then we're just going to do a quick roll and see if you do it, He's like, oh, I can just kind of like make stuff up. It's like, yeah, absolutely. That's the point, right? There's no boundaries. Like a game has these strict kind of bumpers in the bowling alley. Here, it's like, dude, do what you want. Throw the ball sideways if you want to,
Mm-hmm.
And they had a great time. It was a 2-hour session intro. It was a lot of fun. It was a train heist. And they had to jack in and try to deliver some a virus software at this one cab in the train, and ended up having a twist, and it was a good time. So that was my Geek Week. Fun little session. I'd never run a Blades in the Dark before, or sorry, not Blades, Forged in the Dark. I'd never run a Forged in the Dark themed mechanic game yet, and super easy to play and super easy to learn to run too. So had a lot of fun with it. That's my Geek Week.
Cool. Now, if I recall, this Cyberborg, right?
Cyberpunk, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's like CDR PNK. Right?
Yeah, okay. Yeah, cool. I mean, I think you are super big into the little e-zines. I mean, you love Mothership, you love you found that what was that one? The Gods
the Gods
Gods of Appalachia.
We Buried the Gods.
We Buried the Gods, yeah.
Yeah. Which was this what an RPG system you picked up for $13.
It was like less than that. It was like $9.
Yeah. So
yeah, in one little pamphlet. Yeah.
Yeah. This is where like when you strip RPGs down, like these are the bare bones that you get, and like some pretty fun things can happen if everybody's on board with it.
I mean,
yeah, I will say that
role play, the rules light, it all collaborates together to create great things.
Yeah. Rules light is it's a lot of fun when you have people that can open up, right? If you've got someone that maybe has come over for game night and they're maybe a little bit of an introvert and they're just trying to get out of their shell a little bit, it might be a little bit hard unless there's a lot of like good player interaction. And I think we have a good gaming group, right? Because we have people that will say they'll help people develop into their characters. Like, well, I don't know what to do. Well, rather than say you should do this, they say, well, what do you think your character would do? If your character is we'll just say, he's a hacker. How do you think a hacker would take on the situation? The guy's like, probably try to jack into a computer. Oh, hey, cool, let's try that.
Yeah.
Just help the people at the table. But it's always a great time when anyone plays RPGs. I mean, we've had stories of getting wives around the table and having wives roll dice, at least for 30 minutes to an hour, having fun. And then 2.5 hours later, we recognize they're all in the kitchen and we're standing over
badly.
rolling the dice. Like, wait, where'd our wives go?
I'm gonna beat the bad guy. Where'd they go?
Yeah, where'd they go?
For the
they're in the
record,
kitchen? What are they doing?
For the
They're just in there like talking.
Everyone was having fun until my wife came and was like, "This is so stupid,"
Dude.
And then they all left with her.
Yeah.
But she had fun for like 15 minutes. She was rolling dice,
for 15,
and having fun. But that was
like,
all she needed. She needed 15 minutes.
Yeah.
And she was ready
I feel
to go.
guilty about that. We all had strange fantasies of, wow, what if our wives wanted to enjoy our hobbies with us? And those were dashed very quickly.
And it's okay. It's okay for us to have separate things.
Exactly.
It's all right.
Exactly.
It's okay.
It's our thing. It's our thing.
Yeah. So nice, Jason. That sounds like a lot of fun. For my Geek Week, I had surgery 2 weeks ago on my shoulder here. Had to get my rotator cuff repaired and my labrum repaired from an old rugby injury that I had that was just not getting any better, of course. And so I spent a lot of time on the couch, and it coincidentally coincided with two major things that have been going on. One is the Rugby World Cup, which I absolutely love. And I just love the fact that I can watch 3 rugby games in a day and be like, babe, I'm sorry, my shoulder's just not doing good. I gotta sit here and ice this thing,
I'm telling you, I'm ratting you out.
Listen. About day 2 of me watching.
He doesn't watch.
Yeah. Day 2 of me watching rugby, like straight. She goes, "Did you plan this?" And I go, what? No, me? And she's like, you son of a gun. You knew the Rugby World Cup was going to be in September, and that's when you said you needed to get surgery. I was like, that would be preposterous. Shocked.
That would mean that the shoulder surgeon schedule and the rugby schedule somehow overlap. The odds of that are so slim.
Even if I scheduled it 6 months out, it's really not, but the other thing, and this is more of the Geek Week, is that it also coincides with the fact that Starfield dropped, the recent Bethesda game. And so when I haven't been watching rugby, I've been able to sit on my couch and play Starfield. I think I've got 96 hours in that game right now.
That's it?
Yeah, that's it. That's it. Maybe more.
See,
what's 5 days? What's 5 times 24? I've got over 5 days of that game in
120.
Yeah, there you go. So
121.
Yeah, so that's what I'm about at right now.
Not an exact science.
I thought you were going to say Baldur's Gate 3.
Yeah, exactly. Not quite yet. So, Baldur's Gate. So, I have an Xbox. I have a computer, but I don't know that it's powerful enough to run Baldur's Gate 3. So, the way that it needs to be run. So, I'm waiting for it if it ever comes ported over to Xbox, which it may or may never, but who knows.
So, 96 hours into Starfield. Do you have a verdict yet?
I like it. There's a lot of people like, well, this is Skyrim in space. And I'm like, isn't that what they're sold?
Yeah.
Isn't that exactly their words?
That's why I'm here.
Exactly. It's literally why I came.
Way more feature than bug.
Have you seen the? I saw this on a TikTok. I don't play Starfield, so I haven't been able to test it. But where the ships shoot towards the center, like if you create the box shape ship, you'll never get hit.
Oh, really?
That's amazing.
That's awesome.
That is amazing.
Yeah.
There's I saw one. Bethesda always has some amazing bugs with their games. You know what I mean?
Fun.
And I actually enjoy them when you find them, like just some hilarious things. I'm going along, and out of the blue, I'm on this water planet that's got it's basically like a giant oil rig that's over this ocean that these people live on, and out of the blue, this giant sea whale jumps up and it lands in front of me on this walkway. You know what I mean? And I'm like, what do I do with this thing? So I pull out my grenade launcher, of course, and I blast it. But I end up blowing away 10 people at once, too. The whole city starts freaking out. And my companion that's with me is like, that is not cool. I am not going to be your friend anymore, And you're just like, oh my gosh, okay. So I had to load a previous save because it was causing way too much headaches, But I think the best bug that I saw was actually on a TikTok video. Someone's like, can someone please tell me where my ship is going? And he's in a star station looking out the window, and it just undocks and flies and starts attacking ships by itself. And he's like, no one's on that ship. What's it doing? And then all of a sudden you see because it was starting to attack the good guys. So it started saying bounty acquired. He's like, I'm not even on this ship.
That's wild.
Yeah. So, look, I enjoy it. I think it's a lot of fun. I think it's got a fun, interesting mix of Elite Dangerous and No Man's Sky and then Bethesda. You know what I mean? You just come.
Yeah.
You
definitely
No
Man's Sky feel. Yeah.
Yeah. So,
have you seen the videos where they figured out how to steal in public?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, that's hilarious with the trash can.
They just scoot it off the table with something else. Yes.
Yeah. Can you just imagine the developers when they see the video? They're like, I can't believe. Sure. All right. He wins.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's great.
We can write code for them freaking out that you killed a bystander, but we can't write code against basic shoplifting. Is that right?
Yeah. I mean, and it's so the thing is this is every Bethesda game though. The community is going to find
they'll find everything.
Cases. They're going to find it all the time, and it's. I welcome it. Please show me these fringe cases because they're amazing. I don't knock Bethesda at all for them.
No, it's a good
experience.
experience.
I've only had 1 or 2 times where it's frozen up and I've had to restart, but it puts me right back to where I was. So I haven't experienced any wild, like game-breaking bugs that like Cyberpunk had when it came out. Cyberpunk was really bad when it came out. My brother was playing it one time, and he said that he pulled his car up to the side of the road to get out, and instead of it letting him get out on the driver's side, it forced him to get out on the passenger side, which there was a pylon there, and because it caught him between the car and that, it would kill him every time. And he's like, I can't get out of this car. And he would reload it, and he was like still stuck in the car, and it was like a mission thing, so he couldn't move the car anymore. And he's like, kills him. And like, that's game breaking and frustrating. Bethesda's more just amusing,
That's amusing.
Anyway, but that was pretty much my Geek Week was on the couch with ice and plenty of entertainment. So anyway, yeah, good times. All right, Dan, I believe you have some news for us. Do you not?
It's time for Tabletop and Beyond News. Fading out. Sorry.
Nice.
All right. Haven't done that for months. Okay. Hey, for those of you who don't know, the biggest game convention on the planet is coming up on October 5th in Essen, Germany. The convention is Spiel. And frankly, I was in Munich and Frankfurt not that many weeks ago, and I thought, wow, if I could just stretch this trip out for about 4 more weeks, I could make it to go to Spiel. But yeah, Board Game Geek has a list of games that are being released at Spiel. There's over 1,200 games that Board Game Geek has listed. There's a link in the chat, Justin, if you want to throw it up on the big screen for those watching it on the YouTubes. You can filter those 1,200 games on the Board Game Geek site by language, so you can just like go down to about 750 games that will be released.
Wow.
And they have other filters such as publisher, etc. So it's really interesting to see what's coming out. The awards ceremony, of course, for Spiel is a very serious industry, very competitive industry accolade that many board game designers strive for. So anyway, that's Spiel. It is like twice the size of GenCon for us GenCon folks. And I think I'm going to put it on my bucket list of something I've got to do before I pass this mortal coil.
Yeah, I've talked to my wife about it, and my problem is that there's no way I can go to Europe to play games without her coming. She's like, you're gonna go where without me? And I'm like, you can come.
Indianapolis is an easy sell.
Yeah.
Nobody wants to go to Indianapolis.
Why are you going there?
I will just throw out there Free League Publishing, which I know we'll talk about later. They're doing a bunch of big stuff there at that convention.
At Spiel, yeah.
So I heard that Spiel is more of like the game designer conference rather than like the game player conference that or convention that GenCon is. That it's like you go there and they're kind of doing a lot of demos. They're doing a lot of interesting things, but it's not like you sign up for game after game. Now, maybe that's changing, but that was kind of my impression from what I heard. Yeah, kind of. Maybe I'm wrong.
There's a really great documentary on game design. I think it's on one of the big streamers, Netflix or Amazon or Hulu. I can't remember the name of it, but they spent a lot of time doing recording footage at Spiel, and that's consistent with what I learned through that documentary. But I think when you get 100,000 people in a convention, you're going to get some good gameplay in there as well. So I'm not surprised that Free League is over there. They have a really strong they're a European-based company, and this would be it's the largest game convention in the world. If you're in the games business, you're heading to Spiel. So for our international friends who are over in Europe who listen to this show or watched on YouTube, we hope you can make it and tell us how it was. So we'll have great FOMO over here in the United States.
Nice.
My next item is D&D is releasing a new set of modules, the Planescape Adventures in the Multiverse. This is based on, it may seem like everybody's doing multiverse nowadays, but D&D was doing Planescape 30, in the 1990s and the mid 90s. This looks like an excellent product. There's 2 booklets that are over 90 pages and another booklet that's over 60 pages. So you're in the 250 page range, and there is a large printed poster of the different planes. They do have adventures that go from level 3 to level 10 to level 17. So if some of you all who've always been itching to do some higher level D&D play, but don't have but most of the printed materials, kind of peter out around 10. That might be something that's cool. Might be something that's fun for you. Considering if you're wandering from one plane to the next, it helps to be level 17. Because who knows what you're going to run into from one plane to the other. So
Dan, I'd like to point out that this says, journey across the Outlands in an adventure for characters levels 3 to 10. And 17. So I think 11 to 16, it's just missing. Like they're in another realmscape or something.
That's actually a feature. They want you to take your level 10 character and then level up 7 levels. And then I'm serious. I did a little research on this, and then start and play the level 17 version of that character. It's wild.
Really? That's what they want?
Yeah. Well, that's the news on the subject. That's actually,
I thought you literally meant that it was an adventure that took you to 17.
No, they take you from 3 to 10 and then they hopscotch you to 17 as the planeswalker version of your character.
Wow.
Oh,
it's different.
So you're like the hero version.
Oh yeah, look right here.
Okay.
Isn't that what? Yeah.
With the jump to level 17. Wow.
Dan,
so I did not understand that from your thing. Like I understand it now. Your words are the same, and now I comprehend.
Well, and that's the thing. It's different. They're doing something creative and different. I got to give WotC credit where credit's due. Some of these RPGs break down at high levels. Trust me, I have many on my shelf I'm staring at right now that we pushed them to the end and went, wow, we got to start over from the beginning because the game doesn't feel right at higher levels.
Yeah.
So, So why not? So if you're a fan of the multiverse stuff, if you're a fan of planeswalking, Planescape is your way to get from any one universe to another. If you're going from Spelljammer to what are some of the other universes? Forgotten Realms. If you're jumping around, you go through the planes, and so it's also a gateway to get from one campaign setting to another. Pretty cool. If you're playing D&D, and we're going to talk about Escape tonight, Dragonbane tonight. I'm sorry.
Dragonbane. Yes.
I apologize. I got one more quick piece of news.
Yep.
For those, this is not having to do with Wizards of the Coast. We do have a new Final Fantasy 14 tabletop RPG.
Yes.
They have. I need to recopy paste the link into the chat. But it's available for pre-order. It comes with I don't know why my
That's okay. I got it.
You got it. It comes with dice and the normal thing that you'd see in a box set. Its MSRP is $59.99. And if you were fans of Final Fantasy 14, you can continue doing that on your tabletop, which looks great. It looks like a D20 and D6 based system, which we've seen around a bunch lately. And that's a pretty decent pairing without, of dice, of probabilities without it.
Yeah, it looks like it said it's not going to be released until May of 2024. I did see that. But I'm a huge Final Fantasy fan. We were actually talking about that before we got on here, and I'm looking forward to that. I really am.
Yeah, it looks like, and from the images, the box set looks like a high quality product. And if you're fans of the universe and want to jump in, looks great.
So I think they're doing this right. And I have said this before. I think that every RPG that wants to be taken seriously needs to have a starter set. because there's too many people. There's too many RPGs out there that are like, here, buy my RPG, and you're just like, I don't know what to do with this. Like, it's just a core rule book, like I don't know how to get started. I don't know what the look and feel is. And I have said multiple times that like I feel like Chaosium is like really leading the way with this, because not only do they give you in their starter set, not only do they give you a bunch of adventures and the pre-gens and all that, but they also give you a solo mission to learn how to play the game, to then DM the game, And so the fact that Square Enix has not just invested in a core rule book or a GM guide or something like that they're actually putting out a starter set as their initial product, brilliant. I think it's the way that all RPGs should really look at it, because the thing is they're no dummies, right? They understand that people are coming to this RPG because they're Final Fantasy fans, not necessarily because they're RPG fans, right? They're pulling in the people where those Venn diagrams sort of intersect. And so, you're going to be like, okay, well, I'm a Final Fantasy, player, and I've never really played an RPG, but this looks cool because I really love Final Fantasy. Boom, there you go. You're good to go to run it for your friends. Super easy, So I think it's brilliant. Super smart.
Yeah, it looks like a great product. I think some of these box sets, especially if they have a lot of dice and additional booklets and folios, you are going to push yourself over the $50 MSRP. I know we talked with Free League about they try to keep it a little less pricey, but I know Modifius has some fantastic box sets that are over $70 US. And so it's just one way to go. I'm looking at a shrink wrapped Dune box set right now for that RPG, and that I did spend a pretty penny on that, and I've got to find a reason to break the cellophane. So anyway, that's the news, and I'm gonna hand it back to Justin Danger Smith.
So I have just one thing I want to add, Dan, to the news.
Okay.
This is something I came across. So Mythic Games, I think, is in a little bit of trouble again. Again. So we all know that last year they basically had their Wave 1. So they have a Wave 1 and Wave 2, right? Of their fulfillment for Darkest Dungeon. Wave 1 was the core set with a couple of expansion add-ons, and then Wave 2 had a bunch of expansions, like the Color of Madness, like the Crimson Court, like that type of stuff, right? Well, they are saying, okay, we asked you for more money in Wave 1, and that's great, but now we're getting ready to print and send Wave 2, because they didn't actually print the Wave 2 part, which is a lot of the expansions that people signed up for in the original Kickstarter. This isn't like the late pledges that came in the original Kickstarter. Okay. And now they're coming back and saying, we actually need even more money from you, or we're not sending you your Wave 2 stuff. And so they're stating one of the, basically they said, what did they say? They said, Wave 1 of the Darkest Dungeon game is ready to be shipped, and that Wave 2 should start printing in early 2023. However, due to, quote, a significant increase in costs, which Mythic Games attributes to both COVID-19 and the war in Ukraine, the developer says shipping has increased by an average of 600%. As such, Mythic is asking players who want their Darkest Dungeon board game Wave 1 content to pay extra in order to receive their game in a timely fashion. And so they did that, but then they're saying that Wave 2 is going to be even more money because of it. And so, it's funny. This is just really kind of like the pitfalls of Kickstarter. And I think that it's really the pitfalls of a mismanaged company at the end of the day. The fact that, it's not just that they're asking for extra shipping costs, in my opinion. They're asking for more money because it's costing more to produce the things. And the Kickstarter for Darkest Dungeons took place 2 years ago, and they were fulfilling them last year, Wave 1. So Wave 2 is coming out this year after they plan to fulfill the Siege 6 game that they had. So they broke up their fulfillment of the expansion packs of this Wave 2 thing. And now they're saying, oh, it's going to cost actually more to produce it. We need more money from you, which I think it's just not it's very disingenuous in my opinion, right? Because you said, hey, like you paid for this 2 years ago, and now if you want it, yeah, prices rose over 2 years, and now you got to pay us more to get it.
And we know that Mythic Games has had to dump large stocks of board games that they had on the shelf that they would have sold over multiple years. They had to dump them on Miniature Market, right, for pennies on the dollar, just as an infusion of cash. Yep. So I could say I'm not giving them an excuse. It seems like they're burning every possible bridge they can to fulfill this, to the point where they've had to ask for more money, which is sad. And I feel bad for the people who put into that Kickstarter. But Kickstarter also always reminds you that it's not a store, that it's an investment into a delivery of an outcome. And even with a company, I've got 5 Mythic games on my shelf at this exact moment. Yeah. Just because they've already done things in the past does not 100% guarantee that every time you put money in a Kickstarter, you're ordering something on Amazon. Those are not equivalent activities.
And I think what it's showing too is like there are Kickstarters that are sort of low risk and Kickstarters that are high risk. Like we just backed the Robert Schwab, wizard, the weird wizard. Yeah. And I don't. The interesting thing is he says this is what the estimated shipping we think is going to be when it gets fulfilled in a year from now. What he didn't say is this is going to be the exact shipping, and here we're going to collect your money for it now. Right, which kind of makes sense. And so like I know that shipping may be going up in a year, like it's just the nature of things, and so I'm okay with that. And we know that like all the stuff is going to be printed pretty much right now because he said everything's ready to go. And so the cost of the Kickstarter that you're doing is based on sort of actual as near real-time prices as he can get, right? Developing a game and saying like, oh, we may not have it actually start printing for 2 more years, that is kind of risky. You know what I mean? Because you just don't know what's going to happen in 2 years. You just don't know. So buyer beware with Kickstarter. I know that there's a lot of great deals and a lot of people really, back a lot of stuff there. But I think this is a prime example of a company that was fulfilling some really amazing games and ended up kind of tripping and ran into some hard times because they didn't follow the model that they were trying to hope to put out there.
I would give them just a half credit for acknowledging that the war in Ukraine, if you're sourcing from Eastern Europe, is different than sourcing from China. And obviously they made commitments that their suppliers could fulfill. By the way, you guys did a great job with Rob Schwab. He funded all of his stretch goals with an extra $11,000 on Shadow of the Weird Wizard. So with that, I'm killing the news. I'm going to put a spear in the news because we want to talk to Jonathon.
That's right.
Yes.
So let's get to the main topic. Jonathon Myhre. Myhre. See, I'm going to mess this up all night long. I knew I was going to do it.
Look, so Myhre is actually a Norwegian name. My lineage is Norwegian. So the fact that I'm playing a Swedish game kind of fits in, but it's just one of those things that I've only had 2 people in my life actually pronounce it correctly.
Yeah.
So
it's probably your mom and dad.
No, it was my 2nd grade teacher, substitute teacher at that. She was Norwegian. That's why she said it correctly. And then years ago, I worked in corporate banking, and a new customer came in, and he happened to be European. And he lived over here for a couple years. Long story short, when he looked at my business card, because I always just introduce myself as Jonathon, or Jay or John or Mr Dragonbane, depending on what circle you know me in. And he was like, "Oh, your last name is Myhre." I was like, "Yeah, you got that right on the nail."
That's awesome. So that's interesting that it is a Scandinavian name and that you are playing a very Scandinavian game. Why don't you tell us a little bit more about Dragonbane? This kind of came out this year, right? Is when it dropped.
And
So,
why
yeah,
you wanted to be Mr. Dragonbane?
Kind of came out this year.
And was there a pageant?
Oh, so this happened completely by accident. Like, it was complete by accident. So let me tell you about Dragonbane first before I get into Mr. Dragonbane. Dragonbane itself is a re-release, kind of like a polish up on an old product, because in Sweden they didn't have D&D. They didn't have a TTRPG, like basic or expert or chainmail or anything like that. They had to create their own thing. So they created, and I'm not going to try to pronounce it in their language because I'm going to murder it. But it was called Dragons and Demons, basically. It was created in 1982, so 40-something years ago. And it went on for multiple editions. But the very last edition didn't do too well. They basically were re-releasing the previous edition just with new box art, just kind of polishing it. And the people didn't go for it. One thing led to another. Free League Publishing got on the radar, and they picked it up. And I'm so glad they did, because this is the first time that anything Dragons and Demons, which is now Dragonbane, is now released in English. Dragons and Demons, it's only in Swedish. You can't find it in English at all, which is a heart, because I want all that stuff, but it's all in Swedish. And unfortunately, at the moment, I don't read it or speak it.
That's real commitment if you learn Swedish to be able to unlock some adventure modules.
Hey, I'm trying to get Free League to hire me, so if I need to learn Swedish, I will do it.
We'll let Thomas know that.
Yeah. But yeah, Dragonbane, like, it's, and we kind of touched on it earlier talking about TTRPGs, but TTRPGs are moving that way where it's rules light. The system is easier to learn. I work at a nonprofit private school in Louisville, Kentucky, and I host the gaming club. And last year I was teaching, 10-year-olds how to play 5th edition D&D. Now, they caught on, they understood what was going on, but if I can teach a 10-year-old how to play this like that, anybody can learn it. I'm just saying. There's really no modifiers. There's only 2 modifiers in the whole game, and it's for attacking something with strength or agility. It's a D20 roll under system, which I really like. I have a lot of people that come into this game that have played 5th edition or other systems where you have to make the number or higher. So when they have to roll in a critical 1, or a 1 is a critical success, they're like, that's really weird, but I like it.
It feels so wrong, but feels so good.
Exactly.
We have buckets of D20s that have been banished from the table. It's like you need to cut. These are the dark side D20s we need to bring to Dragonbane that can win the day for us. Don't give me a 20. I need a 1. I need a hard 1.
I have a story where I was running a 5th edition game, and my D20 at the time could not roll anything higher than a 5 for like 3 hours. I picked it up and chucked it across the game store, like legit chucked it across the game store. But that was before Dragonbane, when I was like, oh, I should have kept it. But monsters auto attack. It's kind of one of the cool things about being the GM. The monsters auto attack. A dagger by itself does D8 damage. If you as a PC can do potentially a D8 of damage just with a dagger, imagine what you could do with a longsword or a great axe or a great sword. It feels very Game of Thrones, very Lord of the Rings, where the situation is very dire because combat, the initiative, it changes every turn. Every round it changes. You could be first in this round, you could be last the next, but you can also trade your initiative. There's a lot of things that Free League is doing that they're just doing right. I'm sorry to say it. Especially if you look at the other stuff I have around the table, but yeah, they're just doing right. And Dragonbane, I really feel in 2024 it's going to take off. I really feel it. They sold out of Dragonbane at GenCon. Sold out.
That's great.
Yeah.
That's really
which actually Free League sold out a lot of stuff at GenCon, but it was one of the first things to go. So I can't speak highly enough about it. I really can't. I've only run 76 sessions of it since February.
Holy moly, Jonathan.
Yeah, it's just over 300 hours. So
you have earned Mr. Dragonbane.
You could say
300
that
times over, it seems.
You could say that, yeah. I just really enjoy the game. And that's kind of how I fell into the whole Mr. Dragonbane thing, where a friend of mine, Matt McLeod, he's a local organizer for conventions for the Lurking Fears, which, you know, Justin and Jason, you all played in one of my games at GenCon. But he was like, I was in the process of finding a new system to run, and he was like, check this one out. And the artwork, I mean, this artwork, it's fantastic. The GM screen. Like,
oh, that's cool.
Oh, yeah. It's awesome. You know, the artwork is what originally sold me. But yeah, I mean, I just started running it because I really liked it, and nobody had heard about it, so I was just running a lot of games. And I was asked by Matt to come to Origins earlier in April to you know, run Dragonbane. Now, how many TTRPG games do you think were ran at Origins this year? Just rough number.
500.
Yeah, I don't know. 500, 1,000. I don't know.
It's gonna be big,
but it's a lot. You know, it's a lot. I was the only one that ran Dragonbane at Origins. I ran 10 sessions, 8 scheduled, 2 pickups, and after the second, or it was the middle of the second day, I was actually going to the Free League booth out in the vendor hall, and somebody stopped me. We were like, hey, you're Mr. Dragonbane. You're running all the Dragonbane stuff, right? And to this point, nobody had said I was Mr. Dragonbane. So it was just some random person, had not even played in my game, and they were like, you're Mr. Dragonbane. You're running all the Dragonbane, right? I was like, yeah, that's me. I'm running all the Dragonbane. And they're like, I can't wait. I'm hoping to try and get in one of your games. I'm like, if you have a ticket, yeah, we'll get you in there. Sure, no problem. But I told Doug Shute, who's with Free League, and I told, you know, my guy Matt, who he, you know, got me into the whole Origins. They both said it. They were like, run with it. So awesome. From Origins, I'd started to become Mr. Dragonbane, and you know, weirdly enough, I have people reaching out to me like, hey, can you check out my stuff? Or, hey, I've got some ideas. Can I float them by you? Or right now I'm playtesting a handful of things for third-party content creators. Cool. I've actually got my own stuff that I've got out there for third-party, that I've got some stuff I'm working on as well. And it's really crazy. It's really crazy how I kind of just fell into it because I was looking for a new system to run, and I was just the guy running it. So here
right time, right place.
Oh, 100%. Yeah. And I'm fully taking it. I'm going to take it as far as I can.
Yeah, that's awesome. Now, so, you know, I joke when people are like, well, what's Dragonbane? I was like, well, it's kind of like Sweden's not-DnD. You know what I mean? Which is basically what you explained to us. But maybe you can explain to us some of the defining features of Dragonbane. I mean, you mentioned the roll under D20, so it's still a D20 system, but it definitely has a different feel because of that roll under aspect.
Yes,
you know, and
still a D20 roll under. You know, a critical 1 is going to be a dragon. A critical 20 is going to be a demon. You don't want the demons because that's a fumble. You know, we all know what a fumble is, and that's a fumble.
Yeah.
The initiative, like I mentioned, it is where it changes every round. You know, you can trade your initiative with each other. If you have a skill that allows you to do something cool, typically you want to go first. So when you have, which they also don't roll for your initiative, you have cards, which that's one of the things I really like, is that you draw a card. But if you want to go first, but you draw, you know, number 9 or number 10, you're going last.
Yeah.
But if somebody who draws 1 and they trade it with you, they're going last and you can go first now. Like, that's a pretty big thing. You only get 1 action per round. So if you use it to attack, it's kind of important. If you use it to defend yourself, it's kind of important. You know, the game does hit pretty heavy. I'm not going to lie. In the 76 or 77 sessions that I've had 12 TPKs. 12.
Whoa.
Now,
Yeah.
Whoa.
That's awesome. That's like a fifth almost.
Now, I've also had in just about every other session, at least 1 or more characters, PCs, die. You know, because monsters, they hit hard. Like, for example, one of the giants in one of the adventures, his name is Glam. He can do 4d8 damage. Now, there is no level up in this system. So when your HP starts out at 10, it's going to stay 10 unless you get a heroic ability that allows you to increase your HP.
Interesting. Yeah.
And you know, speaking on that, where it's not a level up system, there are advancement marks which allow you to increase your skills, because you have a total of 30 skills. You know, like spot or sleight of hand, sneaking, bluffing, persuasion, acrobatics, you know, the typical stuff. But yeah, I mean, you can go as high as 18. You have to leave. The reason they say that is because they still want to leave that 19 and 20 for room of failure. You know, Gordon Ramsay himself, being a 5 or 6 star Michelin chef, he still could have a night where he messes up ramen. It could happen. You know?
Right. Exactly.
But there's, you know, the mallards. That's a big sell. In fact,
yeah, Jason's got a night mallard right behind him.
Yeah. That's Makander of Half Bay. But then we've got this image right here, Darkwing Duck, which I'm sure everybody saw. Let me show you a bigger picture of it. So right here, that was actually a floor mat at GenCon. I took that off the floor as I was leaving because I was like, I gotta have one of those. Nobody stopped me. So, but yeah, there's, you know, your typical humans, there's elves, there's dwarfs, there's halflings, you know, the 4 common basics, but then you got your wolfkin, which are wolf people, and then you've got your mallards, which are duck people. And those always go the quickest. People always love playing, you know, a duck. I've actually had multiple people try to create the Darkwing Duck character. It's very popular.
I remember when we went to play and you had all these folders of pre-gens. You were like, you could play with the fun things, and it was like the wolfkin, the mallard, you say, or the boring ones, and it was like the human,
the halfling. Yeah.
Well, the reason I say that is because they're always the less picked. Like, I don't have to print off as many pre-gens for the convention because those are still full.
They're still there.
Right.
Yeah, they're still there. You know, of course, you know, you're going to get your graybeard, grognard. That's like, oh, I'm going to play a human. That's fine. I have no problem with you playing humans. I just know that when people sit at the table, they want to play a mallard or a wolfkin typically. That's just what I see a lot of times.
Sure. It's the beautiful art.
And I know that I wanted to play it because I wanted to try something different and see what it was like, right? Like what's the cool thing about this wolfkin, or what's the cool thing about this mallard, you know? And I mean,
I wonder.
Yeah,
I wonder if that's one of the main reasons why, is because, like, what other game do you play a duck? That's not. I guess there's the
Ruin Quest.
Yeah, And what's the other?
Morkborg
game?
has a Quackborg is coming out.
Yes, yes, they do. It's actually hitting Kickstarter here in a day or two, I think.
There's another free Mutant Year Zero, I think, has ducks in it as well. Yeah, but not too many.
Yeah, but yeah, I mean, there's just a lot of small things that are just adding up to make Dragonbane just really great. You know, if I can explain a character sheet within 2 minutes and people catch on like that, I mean, of course you're going to be like, oh wait, I do this, right? But it pretty much sells itself. Like I have a large community of people here in Louisville, Kentucky, that now play Dragonbane. They've got like the box sets and everything like that. So thankfully it's catching on here. I don't know about where you all are, but it's catching on here.
That's great.
I think what I liked about Dragonbane when I played it with you is that it married the things that I liked about D&D with the things that I liked about Call of Cthulhu. In terms of mechanics, anyway. You know, setting aside, I think well, I'll talk about setting in a second, but in terms of mechanics, right? I do like the roll under aspect of it. I do like you know, some of the long list of skills that you get that had kind of a Cthulhu feel to that as well. But then, you know, you had your fantasy aspect of the D&D that played itself out in there as well. That I think was an interesting marriage there that I think creates its own unique style and feel that I think is needed to make sure that it differentiates itself from D&D, right?
Yeah.
Like it's got to I think we talked about this when we were there. There's too many games out there that are just reskins of 5e. And so you're like, okay, cool, I'm playing 5e, but this time I'm in a samurai forest instead of a troll forest. You know what I mean? And it feels almost exactly the same. And I mean, we even played
there's 2.5 hours of lore that come before the first swing.
Yeah.
You know. That's never happened before, Jason.
No, never.
Sorry. It wasn't into the lore. Sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry. The lore helped me with my insomnia.
Yeah, and like we played Everyday Heroes like Total Recall at GenCon, and that's a 5e skin as well. And people were like, "Hey, this is great." You know, like, did you have a? You know, one of my friends was like, "Did you have a great time playing it?" I'm like, yeah, I mean, there was a couple of names that were associated with like the Total Recall realm that kind of make sure that it kept me in there, but it felt like I was just playing Cyberpunk D&D. You know what I mean? Because it was just a 5e skin of it. And so I'm glad that Dragonbane has said, we're not going to make this a 5e reskin of our Swedish game, that we're actually going to go back to its basics, its roots, and do the roll under D20, kind of do that style, which is funny because, you know, if you're talking 1984 and mechanics, the two major RPGs that were out at that time were D&D and RuneQuest. You know, like those were the two big boys, and RuneQuest really kind of was the spiritual predecessor of Call of Cthulhu, right? With its D100 roll under system. And so it's almost like they took those two systems and mushed them together, and now we have Dragonbane.
And there's
and I'm glad you mentioned the whole like 5th edition realm, because this is a low magic setting, like low magic. And I say that because there's only like a handful of magic items. You know, there's mages. You know, there's no warlocks, there's no sorcerers, there's mages. And there's 3 schools of magic, and then there's a general school of magic. But I have people ask me all the time, because I've run one online campaign. I'm running a different online campaign, testing out some new material by a third party. Running in person, and I've had people ask me, even just at regular one shots, where's the magic items? Because, you know, in 5e, you're so used to, you know, magic item here, magic item here, magic item here, and it's actually kind of been a breath of fresh air, really, where it's you know, the fantasy is there, but it's low magic.
Right. I think that was one of the strangest things when I got into 5e was, oh, you can be a rogue, but there's a rogue version with magic, and oh, you can be a fighter, and there's an eldritch fighter, and you're gonna have magic, and it's like, so everybody pretty much has to have magic in order to be competitive. One of the things I noticed, because I've downloaded for free on DriveThruRPG the Dragonbane Quick Start Guide, which I highly recommend everybody go do. There's something
great one.
It looks fantastic. Some of the characters that we've talked about, maybe some of the characters that you used in your 70. How many sessions was it again? 70.
Hang on. So not only do I have the printed off version, so I can carry with me because I didn't have the
nice box. Yeah,
I actually have like all the dates that I've run it. And I officially have 76 sessions.
76 sessions.
And the last one that I ran, I did it was a live recording on YouTube. So
that's great. Well, some of the things look familiar. You've got strength, constitution, agility, intelligence, willpower, and charisma. That's this is all very familiar to folks who probably have only ever played 5e and haven't like played Fate or some other totally alternative system. So it's not like there's a huge jump in logic behind learning the system and figuring out a way to have fun with it quickly.
I mean, your attributes are the same way. 4d6, drop the lowest. Mm-hmm. I like to have fun with my players where I tell them roll 3d6 and this is what we got.
Yeah, live with it. Oh no.
I too like living dangerously.
Yeah.
Three ones and intelligent. You are now a hamster. Yeah.
Yes.
So, Mr. Dragonbane, let's talk about that 76, right? So, I think a lot of people, I would say, most of the DMs I know will run on average about one session a month, or maybe two a month if they do every other week.
All right.
76 since February.
Middle.
So just give us a little background on how you got that in to being a DM.
7 months. That's 10 points, like 10 point, like one per month.
So February 12th was my first session of Dragonbane. Okay. I pretty much I was running Dragonbane at least 2 times a week. At least. There's times where, so with me going to conventions, that you get paid to run games at conventions. It's still weird for me to say it. I am a professional GM. People can book me if they wish. I have had people do this, so I'm still trying to get used to it. But that being said, I'll be running a game on Monday, my normal session with my normal people. Wednesday, I could have a group of people that requested me. On Thursday, it could be testing out certain new mechanics or monsters that I've created. Because I'll tell you, so these two right here are bestiaries. Now, the game itself does not come with that many monsters. It only gives you like 13 in the core book and in the rule book, and in the adventure book there's more. But I've created a lot of monsters that I'm testing. In fact, I'm running like an 8-hour session this Saturday where it's basically just your players are in a coliseum and they're going wave after wave after new monsters. But that's what I'm doing. Like that, like legit, that's what I'm doing. Like I have people that reach out to me like, I love this game. Can you run me another one? Sure. Find some people. Let's run it. And I'll run it online. I'll run it in person. I love being a GM because you get to play more. Mm-hmm. All those crazy character concepts that you create in your head, they're now NPCs, and I throw them in the game.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So was this something that kicked off for you with Dragonbane, or have you always been like a 2-3 time a week kind of a DM?
It started with Dragonbane.
Okay.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, with 5th edition, because that's where my beginnings started, was 5th edition. It was my gateway drug for TTRPGs, which that's how it is for a lot of people. But yeah, with 5th edition, I was running once a week, once every other week, because I've got a group of people that I play with online on my Discord, or group Discord, where, thankfully, I'm not a forever GM. Like, I can always play the game whenever I want. And I love creating stuff. And that's what I did a lot with 5th edition, was homebrew. But with this, like, the system is so simple. It's so easy. 5 of the adventures within the book, I've already got memorized because I run it so much. And yeah, it's just because it's a new system. D&D's been out for how long? A long time. This has only been out officially since August 18th. I think August 18th is the date.
Yeah. It came out just after GenCon officially.
Yeah. It might have been the 15th. It was somewhere in the middle of the week. Anyways,
this year.
With it being so new, people don't know it. And I am trying to spread the gospel of Dragonbane.
Now, what I would like to say is that the reason that you were able to pick this up and start running it in February is because of Free League's policy with their Kickstarters, which I think is absolutely amazing.
It is.
Wherein if you back their product, as soon as the Kickstarter is done and fulfilled, they like to send a beta product over for people to find, typos, bugs, etc. Yeah, exactly. You're showing The Walking Dead there, which is, we all got, those who back The Walking Dead already have the PDF that you can start playing the game and running it, even though you don't have the physical copy in your hands. And I think that that's just an absolutely amazing thing, because you start to generate exactly what you have been doing, which is, hey, you're the guy that's running Dragonbane. That game's not even out yet. How can I play this? And you're able to hit the ground running, and then eventually you're going to get your book or box set like you did. And, and then you're like, you can put that on the shelf, right? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So, this is a pre-production copy that Free League gave me. So I have the one that I ordered through Kickstarter. That is my pretty one that sits on the shelf.
Yeah.
This is my pre-production copy I take with me everywhere.
Awesome.
There's only one of 6 that are in the US, so I have one of 6.
So now, okay, so I've got a question. I'm gonna bring up a visual aid here.
Yeah.
For us. Where?
Yeah, I feel like I've been monologuing. Give me some questions.
No,
guys.
You're good. Hold on.
Oh, I got a question when you're done.
Yeah,
Justin.
go. Okay, hold on. I've got to.
You bring up what you're going to bring up. Tell me about these monsters. I've downloaded the Quick Start Guide. Okay. Every monster has a D6 on how they attack.
Yes.
So I'm guessing that the GM is not going to necessarily pick the attack unless there's a strong story reason to do that. You're the GM. You're going to say, okay, the white is going to attack. Here's the D6. Okay, he's going to do his roar because I rolled a 1. Is that? Am I following you?
You are exactly correct. Okay. So there's 2 types of creatures in the game. Mm-hmm. There's your NPCs that still have to roll. So goblins, orcs, regular people, other mallards, other wolfkins, like they still have to roll.
Because they could miss or whatever. Yeah.
Exactly. Now your monsters, and that's what we were talking about earlier. For example, let's see here. The Minotaur. And the Minotaur, they are beastly. So you get this awesome artwork. Okay, first off, Johan, who did the artwork, just take it away. Just take it away. But yeah, you get a small little block that basically tells you the ferocity, which means how many actions they get per turn. Mm-hmm. So, if it's round 1, if they have a ferocity level of 2, they get 2 actions.
They're going to double attack. That's great.
Yeah, they draw 2 cards. They could go first, and then they could go last. Mm-hmm. They get armor, HP, and they have like what's typical gear. Like, what would they typically have on them? Now, you could change that interchangeably, increase, decrease, whatever. But yeah, they have a D6 table of attacks, where I always roll the dice. Like, I don't like to say, oh, they're gonna kick you, oh, they're gonna run their horns into you, or they're gonna stomp you, or something like that. I always roll the dice, because if you're a storyteller, and that's what we are as GMs, we're storytellers.
Mm-hmm.
If you are given a situation with a Minotaur, I roll the dice, it does a stomping attack. If you can't explain how that happens, I'm not saying you're not a good GM, but you got room to improve. And I have a lot of room to improve. I still don't think I hold, that title of professional GM, but it was graced upon me. So, here I am trying my darnest. But yeah, they have D6 attacks. If it depends on like the type of monster, some might have like a smaller list. I've seen a D4 where, it may not be. Some monsters just don't have a lot of things that they can do.
Right.
That's just how it is.
Right. The dogs basically get a bite, and that's pretty much it. Yeah.
Exactly. Now, they do have a list of common animals like lions, bears, dogs, horses, and those are also skill checks. But yeah, when you plop one of those monsters out onto the field, because it comes with standees, by the way. I don't know if you know this, Dan, but it comes with standees.
Oh, little cardboard foldable figures that so you get some faux minis.
Yeah.
You have the ability. So
that's cool.
You've got a nice visual image. They're very cheap and easy to put out. That's really handy.
They go right back in. Like, if I plop this one out, it goes right
back into the cardboard. Okay, great. For those,
that's nice.
Oh, cool.
For those listening and not watching, there's about an 8.5 by 11 cardboard sheet. You could pop the monsters in and out. That's great. And then you can put them on the little plastic doodad that helps stand them up, and you've got a map going. You got a battle map going.
And I apologize, I completely failed to describe one thing. They don't only attack you physically. These monsters can also do emotional damage, where they attack you with
emotional damage.
I knew somebody was going to do it. I knew somebody was going to. So in the game, as a GM, as the game master, you have a D8 list called the Fear Table. Now, this Fear Table may drain your willpower, so you can't use heroic abilities or magic. They could give you a status, and the status it's connected to your attributes. So each attribute has its own status, where they give you banes in the system. So this system, it has advantages and disadvantages when you're rolling, and they do stack. So you could have 2 or 3 advantages or 2 or 3 disadvantages. But an advantage is called a boon, a disadvantage is called a bane. But the Fear Table, what's really cool about it is you roll your willpower, and if the monster is attacking everybody on the table, everybody succeeds except for one person. I roll on the Fear Table for them. And let me just give you an example. Scream. You scream in horror, which causes all player characters who hear the sound of you screaming to immediately suffer a fear attack as well. So even though they succeeded, they have to roll another fear attack, which could potentially cause them to fail.
Right. You could have a morale break of the whole team.
Yes,
Jonathon,
exactly.
do you know, are these like new mechanics in this version, or are they part of the older system? I ask because they're very familiar to other Free League systems that have these stress rolls, the auto attacks from monsters, that kind of stuff.
Right. I was going to say that Xenomorphs have that D6 table.
Yeah, it's a part of their Year Zero engine where, and again, this is the great thing that Free League does. With Blade Runner, The One Ring, or Vesson, or Alien, they take the good stuff from one and they'll combine it with another. Because I've seen for example, The Walking Dead that I had just mentioned a minute ago, it has several things that are very similar to Alien and Twilight 2000. The One Ring has multiple things that are very similar to oh gosh, I was just talking about this yesterday. I can't think of it now. That's going to bother me. I can't think of it right now. But like they tie the games together with the years.
Well, it has hobbits in it.
Huh?
Was it hobbits? There's hobbits in it. Yeah. Why is there hobbits? I knew it.
You got it. There's hobbits.
I knew it.
But you know, it's really awesome, and I love that fact because it makes the games almost interchangeable. Where if you've played Blade Runner or Alien, you could pretty much pick up The Walking Dead. I promise you.
Yeah.
It just makes the games that much better, and it makes me want to play more of their systems personally.
And I think the way that they do a lot of their dice system as well really encourages narrative storytelling.
Yes.
So like Jason and I were fortunate enough to jump into an Alien RPG session at Nova Open, and you know, just using that stress mechanic that they have, you know, just really like heightens the level of play that you're playing, and you know, you just have to you just kind of roll with it a little bit. And you know, going back to your monsters a little bit, you know, with their auto attacks, right, that they have, like I remember thinking like, okay, I understand the system now. We want to avoid these monsters. We should run away when we can. You know, which is, I think in our scenario, like a giant bat had appeared above us, and
the vampire bat.
Yeah, and we're sitting here going like, it's just a bat, guys. And next thing I know, we're all dying, you know. And I'm like, oh my gosh, we got to get out of here, you know. And so we ran into the loving embrace of some goblins that were waiting to attack us because we didn't want to be with that bat anymore.
Yeah,
you know.
There's goblins in front of us, bats behind us. Goblins, do the goblins.
Do the goblins. They have to roll to hit us, you know.
Yeah.
So
and that's it creates. I'm very blessed when I sit down at a table to run a game. I typically encounter people who are willing to role play, and I'm very thankful for that because I do love a good narrative. You know, if you say, "Oh, I'm gonna swipe my sword through it," well, tell me how you do it, you know? Or if you want me to take over for a second, I can kind of give the table kind of a show, you know?
Sometimes you have a player that picks up a burning mummy corpse and hides it under a ghost to burn it. You know? Jason, you remember that?
Yeah. Yeah,
I mean,
I remember sliding on my knees to the other side of the room to knock off the blue torches that did not a lot.
I love the whole blue torches. I really do, because it makes people think like, wait, does it have something to do with it? Nope.
Yeah, it's amazing. Yep. So, so the one thing I wanted to ask you, and maybe this is kind of like a sort of our final topic with this, is I'm going to share right here the map that comes with the Misty Vale. Now, looking at this, this is not like a typical like D&D map. In fact, you've got a little legend up at the top here that says 15 kilometers, right? Which in the imperial standard, that's 9 miles. Okay, so anyway, 9.9 miles.
System.
Yeah, 9.3 miles. I did a super scientific measurement across this, and I came up with a super scientific value of 235 square miles of the Misty Vale here, which in the grand scheme of things is like, I don't know, the state of Kentucky probably. Like, I mean, it's not like that many miles. Maybe it's even smaller than that, right? Maybe it's more like Rhode Island when you come down to it. Because it's really only like, you know, anyway, my point is that like this isn't a huge area, right? Like this not like ginormous where it's like the Forgotten Realms of D&D where you can go adventure in a lot of other places. Do you feel like, and this is kind of a two-part question, do you feel like this is enough for Dragonbane? And do you feel like there may be future expansions coming for this because like it's only 238 square miles?
So to answer your question, yes. So here's the thing. And I have heard this specifically from people at Free League. So in the core book, they give you so when you get this, you get the starter set, you get 2 books. You get the core book, which gives you all the rules, and then you get the adventure book, which gives you 13 adventures. Now, if you look at this map, there are multiple spots that have names on them.
Mm-hmm.
And there are, if not twice as many spots on this map that have no name at all.
Right.
So the Misty Vale is, it's 150 kilometers, north, south, east, west. In the south, you got the Coomer Mountains. In the north, you've got the Dragonbane Peaks. And you've got the Coomer River that runs in the middle. So they have 13 adventures starting out that they want you to, and it's a full campaign. It's basically you're trying to find this statuette of the Dragon Emperor Eladin, who, died 800 years ago. But they wanted to give you just a start. They wanted to give you the setting, and they wanted you to play in it. They wanted you to create within it. It's kind of their big thing, Free League Publishing. Because like I said, there's so many spots on this map that are not named that you could create a small adventure. In fact, in the back of I think it's the core book, there are pages that you could roll certain dice to create a random adventure.
Yeah.
Which is fantastic. I love the fact if you go through the core book to create a character, they give you a roll table for everything. Like, if you want to be a first-time GM on a very rules-light system that is a lot of fun and very enjoyable, this is the system, because there's so many roll tables in the book where it's like, roll your profession, roll your kin, roll your name, roll your gear. Like, it's all right there. All you do is have to roll the dice, and it creates it for you. But yeah, they give you this basic setting, the Misty Vale. It's 150 kilometers north, south, east, west. And they just want you to dabble in it. Now, I will tell you, so the Dragonbane community is very large, and it's very international, because I talk to people all day long that are Swedish. I am a moderator on the Facebook group of Dragonbane. There's a Discord. I'm talking to people on there all the time. There's a Reddit. I mean, there's a platform there, for every social for this game. And people are creating adventures already. Like, and check this out, because before the game was officially released in August 18th or 15th, somewhere in there, those couple days, there was already third-party content out there.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, in fact, I have to, plug myself, because I wrote something and I had it released before the game actually released itself.
Officially.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah. I mean, and that's what they want you to do. They want you to create content. There's people that have been creating content for the older editions that are recreating their stuff within the new Dragonbane.
That's cool.
There's multiple third-party expansions coming out, but I do know officially, because it's kind of been put out there. I know that there is in fact, Tomas has said it in several of his GenCon interviews, there's a monster book coming out. And just 2 days ago, we got official confirmation from several large Swedish publishing companies, like book publishing, where they've already put like a small blurb out there for the monster book. No images or anything like that, but just a small blurb. So we know it's official. It's coming next year.
Yeah. Yeah, that's one thing that I really love about Free League is that they have shown a commitment to continue to support their products. And, you know, it's not just like little bits of support, like where they'll put out the core rule book and then maybe 3 years later they'll put out a bestiary and then, maybe like an adventure book or something like that eventually. Like they love to hit the ground running where when you order the product from Kickstarter or even a starter box, you've got adventures baked in there all ready to play. Yep. And then, you know, there's adventure books that are following quickly behind it. I think that maybe the One Ring was a little bit of the slowest to do this in the sense of they had their starter set that had some adventures in the Shire. And then they put out a settings book, you know, which is the area door. And then now they're coming out with Moria that is
Doom.
I know it looks really, really good, and so that's got like more adventure style stuff in that as well. Yes. So I think what I'm liking, you know, and I think Dragonbane is sort of leading this a little bit with Free League as well, is that, you know, coming with your starter set that has 13 baked adventures, essentially a campaign that you can play over the course of a year if you play once a month, you know, which is about the speed for dads out there. Not you, okay? Like, yeah, exactly.
Yeah, we're lucky if we can get that one game in a month.
Yeah, but if you can, you know, if you play one game a month, that's a year campaign, and you know, you'll have thoroughly explored the Misty Vale, I believe, and you know, that sets you up for, hey, do we want to keep doing this or do we want to try out Aliens next, you know, or something like that, and gives you a great flavor. And then when that next expansion comes out for this, you're eager to pick it up because you've already played it, you know, and I think that their production timeline and value is right on par for a lot of their, you know, offerings or IPs that they have that they're putting out there.
I mean, I fully, so they really want to get the ball rolling, like you said, with Dragonbane. I can tell you that. Like the way that they've talked about it, Free League, you know, the way that they've talked about it, they want this to be a success. They've already seen great success. I mean, the Jason, Justin, you guys saw the line going into our room there at GenCon. Yeah. You know, as part of Free League, or the Lurking Fears, which again, we're just a bunch of people that run games at conventions. We run a lot of Free League stuff. And our tables are always packed. But we had demos going on, 1 hour encounters. We had those going on there at GenCon. And we would have people waiting outside the room for like 2 hours to just play a demo. Fun fact, we actually had a group of people playing a game of D&D to wait while they were waiting to play Dragonbane. It's kind of a funny story. But yeah, no, I fully expect either a campaign setting to be produced next year, like full on, buy it and everything like that, or it'll be in the works. You know, like I said, they're already working on Monster Book, a bestiary. So I fully expect another full campaign, because this is a small setting. You know, this is just 150 kilometers north, south, east, west.
Yeah.
I expect a much larger setting, like maybe a couple islands, maybe a couple continents. I really expect something coming out here soon. I really do.
Awesome.
Well, this is pretty exciting stuff. I mean, one of the things I'll say about Free League is they're not afraid to put out multiple games within the same genre.
Oh yeah.
And are they competing against themselves or not? I don't think they are. They can
Forbidden Lands.
They can do Forbidden Lands, Dragonbane, and the One Ring, and they still Vaesen, which you know, they can all live in the same. They can all live under the same corporate umbrella without it feeling like, oh no, we have our one fantasy product, we have to protect it. Like they have Aliens and Blade Runner and Coriolis, Death in Space, and those can all coexist simultaneously. And so I think for players who want to have that nice, fun D&D, early D&D feel, they want to learn the system soon. They don't want to get bogged down into book diving, which in 5th edition happens, especially if you're playing a level 1 character that has 4 cantrips and 2 spells. You're book diving. That may not necessarily be the case with some of with a game like Dragonbane, but probably has some depth if you're playing that 13 session. If you get to the end of the Misty Veil, so. Yeah, I think it's cool and accessible and fun and give you full marks, great credit for just really being a major tentpole to the spreading of this particular product. Sorry, I didn't mean to talk over you, Jonathan.
No, you're good. Yeah. I was just gonna say that the system, it can get crunchy. Like if you want to min max and get down to the gritty, you could. Like the system still allows for that, but on the top of the shell, hey, here's the quick start guide is like 20 pages, and then it gives you like an actual Rittermound, which is like the introductory scenario. It's like, here you go. Like it doesn't take much at all.
It's very easy. We all know all Free League starter sets make it easy to just hit the table running.
So, Jonathan, as a last word, because we're hitting about our time here, but as a last word, for those people who have not yet picked it up or really dove into it, what would be your recommendation? What's the first thing that they should do as soon as they turn off this thing? And leave us a good review and share and all that stuff, and like and subscribe. What is the first step that they should do to go get into Dragonbane?
Well, first off, if you haven't played it, if you haven't even heard of it, are you living under a rock? No.
Do you even role play, bro?
Yeah. Do you role play, bro? No. The first thing you should do, which Dan, I think you did it while we were recording.
Yes, I did.
Okay, so 2 spots. You can either go to Free League's website, Free League Publishing's website, or Drive-Thru RPG. Download the Quick Start. That's all you need. I promise. Now, the core book, there's more stuff. There's more stuff that goes in more detail. The Quick Start's all you need. I promise. The Rittermound adventure, fantastic adventure. It's a lot of fun. It's probably where I've had several of my TPKs, not going to lie.
We almost had one until we ran away.
Cowardice saved the day.
I've had some people complete the Rittermound adventure in 2 hours. I've had some parties take 3 sessions, 12 hours to complete the Rittermound adventure, because there's a lot that you could go into, or you could skip over a lot and go very quick. Like that's the greatness about this system. As a GM, you run it how you want it. Plain and simple.
Yeah. Awesome.
So Drive-Thru RPG or freeleaguepublishing.com, get it there. Quick start.
Very good. Very good. Well, Jonathan, thank you so much for coming on the show. We appreciate you coming and spreading the good word of Dragonbane with us all. And, as soon as we played it, we knew that we needed to have you on here with us. And I'm glad that we got you here. We would have had you on sooner, but I think your convention schedule really delayed us from getting you here, So
I was at Origins, I was at GenCon, I've been at a lot of things in between. I'll be at Gamehole here in less than a month, and then I'll be at PAX Unplugged at the beginning of December. If it's a big convention here in the US, you're probably going to find me.
We're kicking around. I know some of us are kicking around the idea of getting up to PAX Unplugged. Being in Northern Virginia, we're only 2 hours away, 2.5 hours away from Philly. So if we are in the area, we'll definitely hit you up. For that. So, but thank you.
I'll run some Walking Dead for you.
Yeah. Oh, dude, that would be amazing. Yeah, that'd be great. So, thank you so much again for coming on the show. Also, if people want to hire you as a GM, where do they go to do that?
So there's 2 places. I actually have a website, themidgarpress.com. THEMIDGARPRESS.com. Again, I'm a Final Fantasy fan. That's why I have Midgard in there. But start playing games. Startplaying.games. It's a website that you can go and book professional GMs. Again, I'm still getting used to this term. I don't really consider myself a professional GM. A lot of people tell me I'm good. I just like to have fun. And if you can't feel my passion when I'm running the game, leave me a terrible review, because if I'm not putting the passion in there, I shouldn't be running. But yeah, those are my two spots that you can go and book me. I'm happy to run a game for you. I love running. Like I said, 76 sessions, come on.
Yeah. And I see that you also have a YouTube channel that people can go check out. So we'll link all that stuff down in the description for our listeners if they want to catch up with you. But Jonathon, thank you so much for coming on the show. We appreciate it. We appreciate it, and love hearing about this awesome new RPG from Free League Press. So to everybody else, thank you so much for listening with us tonight. We also appreciate all of your support that you give us, and we will see you all at the tables. Have a good night, everybody.
See ya.
See ya. Night.